All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. We hope that you enjoy. Welcome to episode 318 of the KissFAQ Podcast. I'm your host, flying solo today, Julian Gill, admin on the KissFAQ message board. Today I'm just going to do a review of Ace Frehley's new Origins Volume 2 album, which is going to be coming out via eOne on September the 18th. Of course, it's the second volume of Ace's, we'll call it Origins, but nearly all the songs have interesting stories behind them, which brings him up to a cumulative hour and a half worth of cover material that's been released on these two albums. I'm pretty excited. I've been living with this album for a little bit, thoroughly enjoyed it as a general overview. Love the production more than on the previous volume. I think it works better. It sounds better. Very enjoyable from that perspective. I'm a fan of the artwork. I know there's been a bit of debate about it. I like it. I'm happy with what they're doing in terms of its packaging. With those images, love all the little elements on the cover that you can just kind of look at. That harkens back to, the old days when there were little Easter eggs buried for you to discover, and some things that people didn't notice possibly for a while that suddenly jumped out of them. So it's very much a positive. We've discussed all of the vinyl versions on various FAQ podcasts before, and no doubt we'll do a panel discussion about the album and the tracks so that the other guys get to chime in with their opinions once the album, is properly released on September the 18th and they've had time to digest it. The debate about all the colored vinyl, well, no one's forcing anyone to buy any of it. I've ordered one of the versions. I've ordered the Target Edition CD, and I'll find a jewel case version in some market, which I get to order because everyone knows I hate digipacks with a passion. So I think in following on from Origins Volume 1, Ace is a pretty high bar that he's got to kind of match. That album, was released in, April 2016. It hit 23 on Billboard, and I'm looking down at notes. It was his fourth top 40 album and his second highest charting solo album. So that's a high bar to head towards. And obviously it had the benefit of being, a new concept back then. So Volume 2 doesn't have that kind of originality, that the first one did, though Volume 1 clearly indicated that there would be more, and I'm glad that is the case. So I think we also need to talk about Ace has worked hard over the past decade. I think it's his fifth album. Your second Origins volume. You've had Spaceman, you've had Space Invader, you've had Anomaly. So you've got the Trouble Walking Record Store Day coming out. You've had the special EP issue. So a lot of it is, people might complain, well, it's just old rehashes. It's not new material. But he is putting out a lot of new material in between these other releases. So when you think of someone like Ace and someone of his stature, he's Ace Frehley, for God's sakes. He was an iconic guitar player who's influenced and inspired millions to pick up the guitar. We're many decades away from his 70s heyday, but he's still, as a focal point performer, like Paul Stanley or Steven Tyler, David Coverdale, he's still putting out a lot of material when many of his peers are not. Joe Perry, I know, continues to put out material, as does Brad Whitford, but not as much as Ace. So I think that's the main benefit. The main thing I really appreciate about Ace is that he's continuing to put out music. And I love how he celebrates the songs that he played in the clubs, or songs that he liked, or songs that he wanted to learn how to play, or songs that he learned how to play too. So I think that's probably the most important thing for me. Track listing wise, there are always going to be other songs that we can suggest that Ace might do. and I'm certainly hoping that there is a volume 3, because I think all good things should be trilogies, down the road, that maybe he can do some of those other songs that fans are going to probably mention that they'd love to hear him do. But Ace throughout his career has always, I think, had a very good ear for picking cover songs to record, and that goes straight back to his 1978 solo album and New York Groove. What could have been better? He followed that up with 2000 Man. Great, song for Kiss, but one that he had already made his own before he ever got into the studio with the band. And then you get into the 80s, Russell Ballad again, Into the Night. Do Ya, ELO, The Move, originally. So, you go to Foxy Lady, Foxy Lady, I think, on ESP. So he's got a whole canon of covers, and there's only ever been one that really didn't work for me, and that was Steve Miller's The Joker. But you know what? That's just personal taste. I saw Steve Miller in concert, one of the few that I went to. So I love his version on its own. There we go. Let's dig into the track listing and an overview of thoughts on this album. First up is Good Times, Bad Times, Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin 1, 1969. Side 1, Song 1. And that, in Ace's PR, is part of the reason why he has approached this song. What song better than the mighty Led Zeppelin's first song, really, to attack and to have as your first song on the album. That was released as a single in the US, backed with Communication Breakdown, and while it was predicted to be a hit, it only managed to hit number 80. So this one is strictly coming out of Ace's love of Led Zeppelin, and in interviews, his brothers talked about Ace being a fan of Zeppelin, and who wouldn't be inspired by Jimmy Page and that low-slung Les Paul and everything that band brought to music. I think what I like about this is, number one, it's a good vocal effort by Ace. Ace sometimes does the kind of New York Lou Reed, talk, shout, vocal, rather than singing per se. And I was a little bit concerned about Ace being able to handle the vocal on a song like this, but I think he more than adequately pulled it off in a slightly slower register, but it's more than made up for in what might be considered a weakness by the guitar work. And again, it's just a powerful song through and through. I love how Jeremy Asbrock's been, given a guitar part on this as well to play. And I love how, he's brought in, the members of his solo band, which we'll talk about a little bit later down the track order. So I thought that was really cool that, straight from the first song, not afraid to have one of his band members guesting on it. Jeremy does fantastic guitar work that just complements the overall performance on the song very, very well. And best part of the song is the end, how Ace has ad-libbed some of his own lyrics into it, which, again, make it his own, but also allow him to deliver a bit of his own message. All right. Track 2, Never in My Life by the Mighty, Mighty Mountain. And this song comes off their Climbing album from 1970, side 1, track 3. Same album as Mississippi Queen. Mississippi Queen has been done to death by other bands. Wasp immediately pops to mind. What I love and find hilarious as well, as it'll get an Ace Frehley cackle going for some, is the lyrics. And the lyrics that are sung are from the Japanese lyric translation sheet. So it's, for anyone who's a Kiss collector, you just go through those 1970s Kiss albums and look at the transcriptions of Kiss's lyrics, and they're sometimes not as good as one might have hoped, but they're certainly entertaining. And as someone who did speak some Japanese at one point, I'm not casting any insults towards them for those lyrical things. I find them entertaining, and Ace has obviously used that for the song, but it works. Even if they might be the wrong lyrics, I think the lightning and the stuff that people hear in some of it is better than the reality of the lyrics. So we'll just put that out there. Everyone's going to have their own take on it. But I think it's actually quite endearing, as it allows him to, electricity, lightning bolts. Some people say it gets a bit old, but come on, he's Ace. So we'll just let him keep going on that. Next song is Space Trucking, Deep Purple. That's always been one of my favorite Purple songs, going back to when I was first getting into rock. So I think they did a fantastic job on it. I love the video, even though it's got Ace's band guys on it who don't play on the song. Just looking at the credits here, this one, is pretty much all Ace, with a reunion with Rob Sabino, who was thanked on the Frehley's Comet album cover in 1987. He was never a member of Frehley's Comet, but he did help Ace out with arrangements and ideas for keyboards, which is what his forte was. More importantly, Rob and Ace were friends going back to Ace's early days in the Bronx. So it's really nice from an origins point of view for Ace to have a friend from his childhood, his early musical life, appearing on the album. So anyone who's heard the Kiss 2020 video from way back, Ace used to kind of cackle about all his friends were dead or in jail, or some have straightened up. Well, here's one of them who's straightened up and, continues to make music. This was cut a few years ago, and we'd heard about it when they were talking about Origins Volume 1, but it didn't get used at that time. So, again, I thought it was a great single, a good way to kind of lead off everyone's introduction to Volume 2 of this album. Moving on to the next track is I'm Down. And what a kind of missed opportunity in some ways. That's the Beatles, which I was always surprised that, Ace did decide to go with a Beatles song because everyone knows of his love for the Rolling Stones. I'm surprised by how well he actually does this very up-tempo song. What I mentioned about kind of the Lou Reed vocal style, that seems to be a bit of a signature these days for him. It's a challenging song for him to do, and when you've heard other cover versions of it, notably for me anyway, Aerosmith's, I didn't think he would, but I think he totally nails it. And I'm absolutely thrilled that it's as good as it is. It's got John Five on guest guitar on it. So, it's another one where he gets to bring in a friend of his to do stuff for fun. Totally happy with how it was. That was, of course, originally a B-side to the Help single in 1965. There's a great bass line, but I love the guitar tones, which I guess shouldn't be surprising if John Five's on there. The guitar tones are going to be totally dialed in and awesome. Missed opportunity. I think it could have been, since the Origins Volume 2 album has been delayed and pushed back to release for a while, I think it would have been a great opportunity when Little Richard passed for this to be kind of released as a single, with Little Richard having said, I'm Down, was basically the best Little Richard song not written, by them, or something to that effect anyway. Maybe it was that Paul McCartney wrote the best Little Richard song. Whatever. It was a completely up-tempo kind of song that dialed back to more of the 50s rock that Little Richard was a big part of, and it would have been a nice homage with that connection to him. Indirect as it is anyway, but there you go. Next song up is Jumping Jack Flash, and here we go. Shock horror. Ace pulls out another Rolling Stones song, but it seems that the Rolling Stones were one of those bands that just mean an awful lot to him. This one has a guest appearance on it, Lita Ford. I am not a fan of Lita Ford. Never have been, never will be. But I think she does a fantastic job. I'm a little bit, not into some of the swearing that gets away from the original feel, as it just wasn't done in the 60s. But I do love the ad-lib at the end that gives, homage to Wayne Kramer and the MC5, because he ends it with a really nice shout out to that band, which, anyone who knows that song will appreciate, and hopefully that will make a Volume 3. So Ace, you got one good idea of your own already for a song on a next possible Origins 3 album, after you do another studio album of your own material. let's see, just look at my notes here. So Lita Ford does the vocal on this. This was a non-album single in 1968, though eventually included on Through the Past Darkly Volume 2 in 1969. It was a number 3 hit in the US in July 1968. Favorite song on the album is next, and I'm surprised. He revisits Cream, who obviously were on the first album. And I think there's a great story about the importance of Cream to Ace, in that he went to, and I mentioned this yesterday when interviewing Robert Duncan on the previous episode, was, the Mitch Ryder Detroit Wheels concert in March 1967 at the RKO. Cream was making their US debut. Ace was there. We don't know which date, because I think they went for 9 days, or a ton of performances by that package. Cream would have gotten 2 or 3 songs, probably 2, to perform. The Who were there. So you get the whole genesis of Ace's kind of musical education in one place, in one time. Possibly more of a moment in some ways than the Ed Sullivan Show and the Beatles would have been on TV. There was all the bands and seeing the guitarists play. And for a young, impressionable player, well, there you go. So this song, A Politician, is from Wheels of Fire, 1968. Side 2, track 2, again, features John 5, and that's what makes it special. That's what makes it blow Emerald out of the water on the previous Origins for me. It was already a super heavy song, but it's just a thing of beauty with all the guitars. And you put on the headphones to get the full effect of crossfading that Ace has put into it. It's just spectacular. It's Guitar Wars. It's everything you want from an Ace album when you've got a guest of John 5's caliber as well, because I think it really makes Ace's game come up an extra level when he's got that foil kind of to challenge him. So very, very impressed by how this one has come out, and I just love it. I love the swagger of it. I love the feel. The lyrics are perfect for this time. It's a non-political political song, which I think whatever you follow or support, I think you can get behind the original Spaceman's performance on this. Then we get some humor. Ace, humor, hand in hand go together. He's taking on the Kinks, Lola. So let's see. This one was 1970, Lola versus Powerman and the Money Ground. Side 1, track 5, hit number 9 on the US charts. A bit controversial because obviously it was about a transvestite, walks like a woman but talks like a man. But I think it's perfect. And again, I really enjoyed it. Female backing vocals on this stood out as well. That Laura Cove, Ace's new beau, is packing some vocal power throughout this album. You can hear her on a couple of tracks, and I think she does a fantastic job and brings a really nice element and balance to the song and the performance. But guitars, they're all over this album. Different tones, different feels. Anyone who thinks that doing a covers album is lazy, well, sure, it is a little lazy, as Ace has admitted that he doesn't have to write the songs. He just has to show up and kind of record them and make something unique about them to put his stamp on them, which is perfectly fine. But I think the guitars, again, sing throughout. And as I mentioned, that production improvement for my ears and my taste certainly helped the album be a lot more enjoyable. 30 Days in the Hole. I was scared to death of this. Not a Humble Pie fan, not a Steve Marriott fan. From their Smokin' album, 1972. So this is pretty far to the end of Ace's origins as a developing guitarist. But I think he's already said that he wasn't sure he would be able to sing it, so he got someone else to sing it. And Cheap Trick, Robin Zander, fantastic version. Again, he really wanted a Humble Pie song on the album, so it is, again, a classic song. It's one of the better known ones, so for someone like me who's not into them, it's like, oh yeah, I've heard of that. And I think they do a really cool version of the song. It was released as a single back in 72, but did not chart. So I think that's the only notes that I've come up with on there. another guest, Bruce Kulick, comes in and makes his appearance on an Ace Frehley album, Manic Depression, from the Jimi Hendrix Experience. And Bruce has been no stranger to admitting being a fan of Jimi, and who wouldn't have been playing guitar in those days when it was all new, it was all fresh. This song is side 1, track 2 from Are You Experienced, the first Jimi Hendrix Experience album. And he plays on the first solo. And you know what? It's Bruce. You can tell it's Bruce. It feels like Bruce. So it's exactly what you'd expect. It's very, very well done, as expected. And it's fun. And come on, it's Hendrix. So having him on an album is very cool. But I think Ace does a great vocal for this song, which again, you don't always know which Ace you're going to get with one of these songs. And when it works really well, it works really well. And this, again, is one that is well executed. And it's great to have more of the Kiss family on a recording together. So sentimentality, yeah, for me as well. Next up, the other track that I was most looking forward to is Ace's cover of Paul Revere and the Raiders' Kicks. 1966. Song originally did not have a guitar solo on it. Hit number 4 on the charts in May of that year. Side 1, track 1 from their Midnight Ride album. Written by, as fans of Wicked Lester will know the names, Barry Mann and Cynthia Weil, or Wheel. The first couple of brill building songwriters. And it was, amusingly, when you're considering Ace, an anti-drug anthem of the time. But he absolutely slays this song. It's everything that I hoped it was going to be. It's Acey-fied in the right ways, and the riff is just timeless. I love it. I've sung a lot of praises of Politician, but I think people are going to enjoy this one tremendously as well. Just awesome, smile-worthy. And again, coming back to comparing Origins Volume 1 and Origins Volume 2, after a few hundred listens to Origins Volume 2, I'm enjoying it way more on balance, but I have combined both of them into a playlist. I haven't cut any tracks out. They go very well together. They are very unified, even though I've given O2 the nod in terms of production and execution. They work very well. Ace has been consistent throughout both of these, delivered very high quality product that I think fans can enjoy, regardless of how many versions of the vinyl they end up getting. It's the music that matters at the end of the day. So, another track from history, a non-album single from 1965, though it was included on the US version of Animal Tracks, was We Gotta Get Out This Place. Again, same songwriters as Kicks, and this one became an anti-Vietnam anthem at the time. It's a all Ace, other than Matt Starr on drums, and he's on most of the songs on the album. Well done, very enjoyable. I'm just looking through some of my other notes here. Yeah. This one was done a while ago, apparently, as well, but very well done. And then we get to the bonus track. There's been an inane, idiotic debate on the FAQ about Ace's solo band's bonus track. Well, number 1, it's a bonus track. Number 2, for God's sakes, it's Ace's backing band. It's not some random group of people he found on the street. It's a song that the band had started performing live, and they are members of his band who perform it. It's a great opportunity to get the whole band on an album. And since Origins got pushed back, the opportunity arose for them to record this, and Ace did his bit, sent it to them. They rearranged and did their magic. I mean, these guys are professionals, and they throw down a really exciting, cool cover version. It's like Rock and Roll Hell off the first album. It's like just something else to enjoy. It didn't need to be on there. That's why it gets to be a bonus track. It's an ad. you get the whole Ace Frehley band, the current Ace Frehley band, getting to represent and be on one of their boss's albums. Come on. Come back to the inspiration that Ace is to many musicians, and how, Ace's place in history is solidified. I don't see how anyone could call into question Ace's commitment or his investment in his own music. Ace is all over this album. Ace has done the vast majority of the performances, the singing, the bass. Engineer producer Alex Salzman does some bass. There are guest organ players, Rob Sabino. There are guest vocalists on a few songs. But, going back to the early 90s and the title of one of Ace's tours, it's more than just for fun. It's more than just for kicks. It's exciting. So, in a year where we're suffering from COVID, we're suffering from economic issues, we're suffering from social unrest, it's nice to be able to turn it off, put on the headphones, and turn it up. So for that, I'm grateful to Ace and everyone who's a part of making this music on this album. To them, I say thank you. You're a diversion. If only for, 43 minutes? You're a diversion. And you're one that I can go back to repeatedly. So I think fans are going to enjoy it. I think fans are going to definitely have some very different opinions than me on some of the songs. But there we are. That's my opinion. I give it 5 acts out of 5 acts. So do get it ordered wherever you order your stuff. Don't miss out on the vinyl. Check out that Target edition with the special cover. And who knows what comes down the road. Let's hope that we get to see Ace live soon, performing a song or two from this album. And that'll be part of the discussion. Which one of these songs would we most like Ace to add into the set? All right, that's my review. Thanks a lot. Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we've broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.